strange but true, the tale of a death beyond the grave. In the bustling streets of Lagos, amidst the chaos of honking cars and crowded sidewalks, a story so bizarre unfolded that it left everyone who heard it questioning the boundary between the living and the dead. It began on a humid evening when a man, dressed impeccably in a crisp white kaftan, stepped out of the morgue. His steps were deliberate, his presence commanding, as though death itself had no claim on him. Passers-by paused in their tracks, their conversations faltering as an inexplicable chill swept through the air. Some exchanged uneasy glances, while others stared outright, their instincts warning them of something deeply unsettling about this stranger who seemed both here and elsewhere. The air around him seemed to ripple with an energy that was both otherworldly and unnerving, drawing the attention of passers-by who could not shake the sense that something was amiss. A debt to pay? The man, known in life as Uncle Ikenna, was a well-loved figure with a reputation for being a generous yet enigmatic personality. He had passed away 2 weeks earlier, leaving behind a grieving family and an unsettled debt. But on this night, it seemed Uncle Ikenna had unfinished business. With a calm demeanor that belied the eerie circumstances, he hailed an Uber and directed the driver to a popular bar in the heart of the city. The driver, initially hesitant but reassured by the man's composed demeanor and polished appearance, accepted the ride. As the car weaved through Lagos's chaotic streets, Uncle Ikenna stared out the window with an intensity that unnerved the driver. The silence between them was broken only when Uncle Ikenna spoke, his voice deep and resonant. "Tonight, I must make things right," he said cryptically, offering no further explanation. The driver, unsure of how to respond, nodded politely and continued on. The sense of mystery lingered, growing with every mile they covered. A night of indulgence. Arriving at the bar, Uncle Ikenna walked in with the confidence of a man who owned the place. He ordered a hearty plate of fish pepper soup, his favorite meal in life, and a bottle of luxury Martell cognac. The aroma of the spicy soup wafted through the air as he ate with gusto, sipping his drink like a man with not a care in the world. Patrons glanced at him curiously, drawn to his magnetic presence but unable to pinpoint what made him so unusual. His demeanor exuded charm, but his eyes carried a depth that seemed to hint at secrets no living soul could fathom. The Uber driver, who had decided to wait outside, eventually grew curious and stepped into the bar. Uncle Ikenna waved him over, inviting him to share a drink. The driver hesitated for a moment, a flurry of thoughts racing through his mind. Who was this man with an air of authority that seemed to defy explanation? Why did his invitation, though warm, feel almost otherworldly? Reluctantly, he took a seat, his unease masked by a polite smile. Despite his initial doubts, the driver found himself drawn to the man's charisma, as though an invisible force compelled him to stay. The driver, still unsure of the man's motives, reluctantly joined him. As they talked, Uncle Ikenna regaled the driver with tales of his younger days, painting vivid pictures of adventures, challenges, and triumphs. His stories were so captivating that the driver momentarily forgot the strangeness of the situation. There was a peculiar warmth to Uncle Ikenna's voice, a quality that made the mundane feel extraordinary. When the bill arrived, Uncle Ikenna reached into his pocket, only to feign surprise. "Oh, my cash is back at the hospital where my wife is in the labor room," he said smoothly, his expression a mix of embarrassment and charm. The driver, moved by the mention of a wife in labor, offered to cover the bill, assured by Uncle Ikenna's promise to repay him upon their return to the hospital. The sincerity in Uncle Ikenna's tone left no room for doubt, and the driver felt a strange sense of duty to assist. The eerie return. The ride back was filled with laughter and more stories, as Uncle Ekena delved deeper into his past. The driver found himself oddly at ease, despite the peculiar circumstances. Uncle Ekena spoke of life's complexities, of friendships forged and lost, and of dreams that lingered long after they were abandoned. The conversation felt timeless, as though they were two old souls sharing an eternal moment. Upon reaching their destination, Uncle Ekena asked the driver to wait outside while he retrieved the money. The driver watched him step out with a peculiar grace, a strange sense of finality in his movements. As the man disappeared through the hospital doors, a sudden chill prickled the back of the driver's neck, an inexplicable feeling that something was deeply amiss. He shifted uneasily in his seat, glancing at the shadows cast by the streetlights, each one seeming to stretch unnaturally in the still night. Minutes turned to hours, and the driver, growing impatient, went inside to inquire about his passenger. Describing Uncle Ekena to the hospital staff, the driver's words were met with wide eyes and stunned silence. "That man you described," said a nurse hesitantly, "died 2 weeks ago. This isn't the first time someone has come asking about him. He's done this before." The driver's face turned ashen as the gravity of the situation dawned on him. Realizing he had been conned by a ghost, he stood frozen in shock. The staff quickly contacted Uncle Ekena's family, who arrived to settle the bill and offer their apologies. They recounted how Uncle Ekena, even in life, had a mischievous streak and a love for the dramatic. It seemed that even in death, he could not resist causing a stir. Unveiling the mystery. When Uncle Ekena's nephew arrived, he shared a startling revelation. "This isn't the first time we've been called about Uncle Ekena," he admitted. "Since his death, there have been other instances where people claim to have interacted with him. It's as though he refuses to leave unfinished business behind." The hospital staff and the Uber driver listened, captivated and horrified. "Are you sure it was him?" a nurse whispered, her face pale with disbelief. "He was one of our patients not too long ago, in the morgue." Another staff member shook their head, muttering, "I don't know what's more chilling, his audacity or the fact that he's still roaming." The driver, meanwhile, stood speechless, his thoughts racing as the full weight of the revelation sank in. The room buzzed with uneasy murmurs, the air thick with tension and fear. The nephew explained how Uncle Ekena had always been a larger-than-life character, a man who believed in settling every score and keeping every promise. Even death, it seemed, could not deter him from these principles. "Maybe he's still trying to tie up loose ends," the nephew mused. "Or maybe he just can't resist the thrill of an adventure, even from beyond the grave." The legacy of Uncle Ekena. The story of Uncle Ekena's posthumous escapades spread like wildfire, becoming a local legend. Street vendors shared the tale with customers, embellishing details with every retelling. Social media buzzed with hashtags like #GhostDeath and #UncleEkenaLives, as users speculated about the eerie events. Radio hosts turned the story into an urban mystery segment, inviting callers to share similar supernatural encounters. Even local newspapers published features with headlines like "The Man Who Paid Debts Beyond the Grave." In churches and community gatherings, elders debated its meaning, some viewing it as a lesson on unfinished business, while others saw it as a sign of the thin line between the living and the dead in their culture. Some saw it as a cautionary tale, a warning to resolve one's affairs in life. Others viewed it as a humorous reminder of the unpredictability of existence and the tenacity of the human spirit. The Uber driver, though shaken, found himself the unwitting protagonist of a tale that would be retold for generations. As strange as it may seem, the story of Uncle Ekena reminds us that debts, both financial and personal, sometimes transcend the grave. In the heart of Lagos, where life's rhythms pulse with vitality, even the dead can find a way to keep their promises, or cause a little trouble along the way. And for those who cross paths with Uncle Ekena, his story serves as a chilling yet oddly comforting testament to the enduring power of human connection, even beyond the veil of mortality. Uncle Ekena's nephew later reflected on the events, saying, "Perhaps this is his way of reminding us to cherish the bonds we share and to honor our commitments, no matter the cost." He was a man of principle in life, and it seems those principles carried on in death. Thus, the tale of Uncle Ekena became part of the folklore of Lagos, a city where the lines between the mundane and the mystical often blur, and where even the most unimaginable stories find a place to thrive. For the Uber driver, it was a night he would never forget, a surreal journey that left him questioning everything he thought he knew about life, death, and the space in between. It was a story he would recount time and again, each retelling met with gasps of disbelief and uneasy laughter, a story that ensured Uncle Ekena's name would never be forgotten.